Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Tibetan Buddhist Society of Canberra. 11 o'clock Sunday morning teachings. Today, my topic is Buddhism without deities. I'm glad all of you have time to listen and watch this. We won't be doing any meditation before or prayers before or after. I'll just do a talk straight for the safety, so saving time. First of all, Buddhism without deities. It's a very important for people to know what is the role of, what is a deity, what is its role, and does Buddhism really have a deity or deities? If it doesn't, then why do we have many forms of deities that people tend to practice? Are they the proper kind of a concept of a deity as a theistic God or supernatural being? Because the deity is more for people who believe in monotheistic religion, meaning they only believe in one and only creator. The creator is someone supreme and some divine and supernatural. And then also the polytheistic religious tradition like Hinduism, in which they have many deities for various things. So Buddhism ideally is a spiritual tradition that is not theistic at all. So therefore, quite a lot of people tend to believe Buddhism is atheist. It does not believe in any supernatural concept of creator or God out there. That is a philosophically correct understanding of Buddhism. Buddhism is a path of awakening oneself, one's own fundamental enlightening qualities, such as becoming selfless, and not only philosophically becoming selfless, but behaving selflessly in the service of all sentient beings. So that kind of ideal of becoming selfless is the kind of qualities and characteristics of an enlightened being. So if one were to equate an enlightened being as a supernatural being, so in the unenlightened being is a supernatural in that sense, because they are not natural among ordinary beings, even though all ordinary beings have the qualities of awakenable Buddha nature. So the central tenet of Buddhist teachings does not espouse of an existence of a creator or God, but when Buddhism does teach about different beings and different realms, there is a realm called God realm. But the God realm that Buddhism talks about among the 6 realms, God is not regarded as a creator God, that is the creator of everything in the world, as other theistic religion believes. God is a kind of a heavenly beings who can have a much more greater power and pleasure and many perfect conditions, contrast to those of humans and animals and other types of beings alike. But the Buddhism do not regard those beings in the God realm as supernatural creators. So when Buddha himself gave the teachings, he talked about taking refuge in the teaching. And so the teaching is actually the deity. In Buddhism, that But teaching is the deity. The word deity in Sanskrit is Istadeva. Istadeva, Deva means Ista means friend. Deva means divine. The light that is friend. Light that is friend. Light that is friend to whoever adheres to that. So it is light in us, the enlightenable quality in us. That is one we need to be friend with. We need to be resorting to awaken that, kindle that light within us. So in order to kindle that light within us, to enlighten us, we need to receive the teachings of the Buddha. But the Buddha is not a deity. Buddha is not regarded as a god, or as a creator, or one who judges, or one who gives special blessings to some who prays and believes to him, and one who punishes those others. These are not in that context, Buddha is not a deity. Buddhism doesn't have a deity who give favoritism to others and who punish the others. So there we don't believe in the concept of a Buddha or a deity that does that. But the majority of people who follow Buddhism don't have this kind of fine understanding. They believe as if any theistic or monotheistic religious people believe. They think there are Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and various deities who will be pleased, who has to be appeased, who has to be regularly sort of made paid obeisance to, and either it's regularly or periodically or daily or monthly or weekly, as if a person who does that, they will appease and propitiate them, and then their spiritual path and progress may be a little bit guaranteed. So there is that kind of a confusing belief among the people who follow Buddhism in Asian subcontinent, because all people in Asian subcontinent tend to be largely influenced by the theistic belief in the idea of existence of a god or god or deity out there. So, and anytime when they see the Buddha, or when they think of the Buddha, they always pray to the Buddha, as if Buddha will give them boon or blessings or siddhis, or they make supplication to, they do prayer to the Buddhas and deities, as if they are listening to. So there is this concept of confusion. There is the confusion in people's mind that Buddha is a deity. But actual deity is not Buddha. Actual deity is his teachings. There's these three things that are really deity, but not God as supernatural being that deity, but they are the beings. They are the teachings of the three higher trainings: the self-discipline, meditation, and wisdom. These are the three true deities. We call three higher trainings. Three higher trainings. But because ordinary people cannot see these three, cannot realize themselves to practice self-discipline, and then they might appoint the Buddhas and enlightened ones over there to watch over us so that we behave properly, and therefore they may deify certain identities and the role of one who watches over you, who protects you, who guards you. But that belief is very strong. But that's not true Buddhism. That is a kind of a Judeo-Christian and other theistic religious beliefs have encroached, have influenced people thinking Buddhists actually have deity like they have. And also Buddhists themselves has not stayed simple in thinking, taking the Buddha's teachings, how to mind oneself through self-discipline. One who has awareness to mind the self-discipline, that is our best deity. Even if you have a deity or best friend, what does the friend meant to do? Friend meant to keep us in order so that we do not go off the track, to harm oneself and others too much. And also we do not stay idle, not making any progress, or or vice versa. So the self-discipline is actually the real deity. Self-discipline is the actual real deity, but we don't have a deity as external one who watches over us, who we forgive for over compassion to, or get favorism from them. So there is no such a Buddhism that actually looks for external deities for our self-development. We have to, self-discipline is, we have to mind our own physical, verbal, mental, emotional behavior, and that which gives us the ability to improve our skill to correct ourselves is meditation. So the meditation that we do, becomes a format on which we become our best friend. So we actually are our own friend. We are our own best friend. We are our own deity, so to speak. When we are meditating regularly, holding our hands, and then we are really able to stay present. And then when we are present, we naturally look after or maintain our self-discipline. When we have this corresponding harmony between meditation and self-discipline, that means we have developed the third training, high wisdom. We have the wisdom in us that empowers us so as to mindfully watch our posture, our words, our thoughts, our deeds and actions and intentions, and in everyday life. Now, in our fitness to be able to practice that regularly, we actually need meditation. So our meditation, which is being present, looks after our sense of sensibility in every day-to-day activities. So originally, we must say that Buddhism did not have any deities, but only thing they had is three higher trainings. The three higher trainings of self-discipline, meditation, wisdom, which we call Shila, Samadhi, and Prajna, these three are the true deities. These three are the true deities, and these three are taught by the Buddha. Because Buddha is the teacher whose teaching informs and reforms us to better us, therefore people deify the Buddha, because Buddha is the one who taught this. And so therefore they might have images of the Buddha. The image of Buddha is usually made out of either from clay or stone or brass or bronze or painted in gold or silver, whatever. But these are not deity. These are gold and silver, and these are copper, and these are in this case, these days is fiberglass and all that. Fiberglass cannot be your deity, nor can brass, nor can the wood, nor can be concrete or even jade. People think the jade Buddha is something, because they think they deify the stone as the Buddha. But real Buddha, even from the meditating in front of a jade Buddha or a crystal Buddha or a turquoise Buddha or even fully painted gilded gold Buddha, but these are not real Buddha. These are Buddha Rupas. Buddha Rupa means these are statues of the Buddha. These are lookalikes of the historical Buddha. The historical Buddha is not the deity. Historical Buddha is the teacher. And Buddhism, the teacher, the role of the Buddha is to teach the people to make themselves responsible, make changes, improve. But the deity doesn't do the changing. The deity doesn't do the workload for the self-improvement or transformation of the person. So that's why we can say Buddhism is without such deities who looks after you, who protects you, all of that. But of course, every day-to-day people, I would call them peasant Buddhists, they actually believe that they believe in the Buddha, watches over them, protects them, guards them, protect them from harm, give them the blessings to have success in the material world, give them success to have a good health. People all the time believe that and deify the Buddha. And but actually Buddha said that he never does that. He said, you are your own master. So that the self-mastery is the art of realizing how to become your own friend. So we are our own friend. We are our own friend as well as we are our own enemy. There is no deity in Buddhism that will guard you and cause harm to people who harm you, this sort of thing. These kind of things are not correct Buddhism. But huge number of traditional cultural Buddhists actually do just that belief. So therefore, for the outsiders or people who look at Buddhism from outside, definitely see as the Buddhists have lots of deities. Why? Because you go in a Buddhist temple, they're full of all these images and who are all ranked according to their importance. Gurus, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yidams, Deity, Dharmapalas, and you have the huge pantheon of list of supernatural beings. While they have their own symbolic meanings of for instance, you might have, in order that you don't forget to practice compassion, you have Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. But real deity is not Avalokiteshvara. Real deity is sentient beings to whom we have to practice kindness too. But because we don't have the decency to practice kindness to real living sentient beings, people tend to worship and be devout in front of golden statues and jade Buddhas. But when in front of a sentient being, they think they forget to practice kindness. So therefore, sometimes all these deities are forgetting sentient beings. Even the purpose of the deities, the conventional purpose of the deities is not to pray to the deities. It's so that we don't forget compassion to practice to sentient beings. So people try to practice, try to become the deities, but actually they don't have the ability to furnish and dispense compassion to sentient beings. Even though they have compassion, they have deity of compassion such as Avalokiteshvara. So this is inadequacy of the teachings from the traditions, not giving the teachings to the followers. As if you keep the image of the deity and you make offerings regularly to the deity, and then you recite the mantra, then they're led to believe as the deity will look after them. But that's actually not correct teachings. Correct teaching is that the deities are a mere symbolic reminder of the compassion that we have to practice to the real living sentient beings. So sentient beings are actual deities. We have to actually practice sentient beings as our friend and practice compassion too. If we have self-discipline, we try to restrain harming them. We try to practice compassion to them. We try to minimize harm. We try to maximize benefit. And we try to be of benevolent cause in their lives. If one is able to do that, then the examples or legends of deities who themselves practice selflessness and then become very much highly venerated for their having achieved certain sainthood, like Arhats and Bodhisattvas, then people use their example to emulate, and so that they too can copy and follow the template, practice the template of their behavior in order to show kindness, practice tolerance to fellow sentient beings. So, and actually the Lord Avalokiteshvara is really not so much for the purpose of sake of worshipping Lord Avalokiteshvara, but rather Lord Avalokiteshvara is a reminder for you to not forget to treat sentient beings as Lord sentient beings. So therefore, if Buddhism has deities such as Avalokiteshvara, which in Mahayana Buddhism and Vajrayana Buddhism they do, then these are not the kind of theistic deities that believe in worshipping and praying, then who will give you a supernatural power. It's exactly the opposite. It's holding the image of the deities such as Avalokiteshvara or Manjushri or Vajrapani in your meditation is not so much to worship to them to give you blessings for your long life, good health. That's which majority of people keep believing that. But in actual practice, is these deities are so that we practice compassion to sentient beings as our best friend. If we do not see sentient beings as a best friend, whether in good times or difficult times, then no matter how many deity yogas or deities, mantras or deity empowerments you have received, it probably had failed to inform and reform the student. They haven't really empowered the students of the deities. To a student who feel really empowered, it's not only he sat in an empowerment ceremony and got the permission to meditate on the deity and get the mantra like that, but that's not sufficient. Sufficiently, the teacher should teach sentient beings that you're receiving the authorization to recite the mantra of Avalokiteshvara Om Mani Padme Hum, and treat the actual conventional images of Avalokiteshvara as embodiment of the triple gem. So it is Avalokiteshvara is embodiment of the triple gem. His body is Sangha, his mind is the Buddha, his speech is the Dharma. So even when we have deities, the Kaya Vakachita. Kaya means the body. Body is the Sangha. Body represents the Sangha. His speech represents the Dharma. His mind represents the Buddha. It is in order so that we do not forget the triple gem that the deity empowerment is given, no matter how specific mantras or specific forms and iconography of them may differ. But the main purpose is so that if you have refuge, taking refuge in the triple gem and commitment to practice the three trainings of Shila, Samadhi, and Prajna, Shila is supposed to pacify your neurotic behaviors. Shila isn't so that you look very immaculate, be pure and moral outside, and then judge others. These are where the pseudo Shila is practiced in this modern world. People talk about outer behaviors and reputations and so on of each other. That's not Shila. Shila is minding your own neurotic behavior and culling them down and then improving your behavior to minimize your bad behaviors and to improve your positive behavior in order to benefit sentient beings. But when people have misinterpreted the Shila being a kind of for the purpose of personal standing in society, that's a spiritual materialism used as a Shila. Real Shila is having a cooling effect by the adoption of one's moral discipline or one's own pride and self-importance, and therefore there's no heat of pride or either of one's own purity, no judging others thinking they have transgressed, no being jealous of others, no looking down on others saying they have transgressed. None of that is Shila. These are opposite of Shila. These are the loopholes of the Shila. So in order to practice the observance of self-discipline, one therefore takes a refuge in the triple gem. But triple gem is triple gem. They are not refuge. They are not sort of deity who guards you, protects you. It's we ourselves have to actually do the guarding and minding and self-transformation, behaviorally speaking. When one is able to do that, then the triple gem becomes a substitute for any deities. But majority of people do not know the triple gem. And therefore, the various Buddha images or figures or bodhisattvas or arhats are given as a kind of saint figure in people's life to pray to as theistic people do. So most Buddhists are only Buddhists by convention, but in actual practice, they're all theistic Buddhists. So you will actually find very few atheist Buddhists who don't believe in external deities, but always seeking to choose one or two or more deities to worship to, as if they actually have a supernatural power over who watches over you and gives boons and allay obstacles and guards you from misfortunes and so forth. People do that all the time. Most Buddhists aren't practicing the true Dharma. They're all practicing Buddhism but in the form of fear of the worldly difficulties and hope of being protected by someone supernatural. So most Buddhists unconsciously deify Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, Arhats. These are just practitioners who have reached different levels, but these practitioners don't actually have the power to guard and pinch you from outside. When you're in deep trouble, they can rescue you. People keep constantly giving some kind of divine intervention when something good happens. When they pray to the Buddha or something, when the daughter becomes pregnant and wishing to be all pregnant, they think the Buddha blessed them. People always deify someone up there, giving them the supernatural blessings out of their faith and devotion in them. So Buddhists always unconsciously deify even Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, maybe even Angulimala. Some people, I believe, even in Theravadan countries who doesn't have as many kind of concept of deity as Mahayana. Even beings like Angulimala, they say if you pray to Angulimala or recite, then the woman will have no complication with birth and pregnancy and so on. These kind of beliefs has crept into Buddhist culture, Buddhist practices, and people often deify Arhats and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as if they might go in front around a Buddha's relic, like tooth relic or something, touching it or painting it or honoring it. By doing that, their lives' difficulties will be allayed, good things will happen to them. So Buddhists are all the time deifying Buddhist figures and images and things like that. But that's actually not real Buddhism. Real Buddhism is without such giving such power to any divinities. It's not that we give and then the deities have the power. By faith, sometimes does, the faith healing or faith, people believe that. But in actual Buddhist teachings, it is your own actions, whether it's good or bad or in between, whatever you did, you will only reap the results that are concordant to the things you yourself physically, emotionally, and verbally conformed sometime in the past. We are only experiencing the result of what we did. Now, believing in deities, praying to them is not a effectless cause, because by sheer power of belief, doing it with intent and words and deeds people do, they still will bear some result. But they are only results of your own action, but they are not some boon or kind of favor by so-called deities. Now the question arises, if that is the case, then why Buddhists have so many deities? Deities of compassion, deities of long life, deities of healing, and all of that. And these are skillful manifestation or dispensation in order to attract the ordinary believers, so that they who need to look up unto someone, and then through the skillful manifestation of the deities, then eventually they get taught to the actual deity, which is real friend, is Dharma. Dharma is the only medicine, and Buddha is the only physician, and the Sangha is only nurse, and there is no other deity greater than these three. These three are not some being out there by worshipping to will do boon and give guardians of protection to you. But these things are something one has to realize from oneself. That's very, very important to distinguish the deification of external deification and internal, I would say, realization. When you do not know how to gain inner realization due to lack of meditation, self-discipline, no realization, therefore people are often requiring to resort to external belief in external figures. And so therefore Buddhism has become somewhat kind of demoted to the worldly deity worshippers. Worldly deity worshippers, such as Buddhists who are praying to Brahma. Like in Theravadan countries, a lot of Buddhists are praying to Brahma and maybe Shiva and Ishvara. Like in Cambodia, you wouldn't know whether they worship Buddhist or Hindus. They all seem to be worshipping Buddha as well as a four-faced Brahma. So therefore, there is a very, very gray area among the Buddhists themselves, whether they are worshipping the Buddha as a deity or whether they are worshipping Brahma as a deity. Are they really worshipping Buddha as a noble example, noble enlightened one to give the inspiration? Is supposed to be the proper Buddhist way to do. So people who are following Buddhism, who really understand, like I'm trying to explain, we should not see the deities in the statue. It doesn't mean we shouldn't see as seeing the deity in the Buddha as a kind of a sacrilege. But the form of the Buddha rupas, they are called Samaya Sattva. Samaya Sattva deity. But if Samaya Sattva deity is the form of the deity, then Jnana Sattva deity is the wisdom being of the spirit of the energy of the deity, must be fused into the Samaya Sattva. And then when you are able to see the wisdom being resident or inseparable from the figure that you have animated, it's like animated. When the statue is animated by the spirit or consciousness, then the statue becomes consecrated. When the statue becomes consecrated, the statue, which is Samaya Sattva, consecrated, which is wisdom being, has been invoked in the statue, and they have been fused and they have been sealed. And then people use that combination of Samaya Sattva and Jnana Sattva as a Samadhi Sattva. Samadhi Sattva is one who you meditate. So the deity becomes object of your meditation, Samadhi Sattva. So, and then the Samadhi Sattva usually is not really the deity, but rather the seed syllable or a droplet on the top of the seed syllable. You rather visualize a visible dot. Actually, it represents the wisdom discerning emptiness. And wisdom is discerning emptiness of the form of the deity that you visualize, the Samaya Sattva. Samaya Sattva's form of Samaya Sattva is inseparably with the Jnana Sattva, and being able to see the emptiness of the form of the deity, through your meditation, and nevertheless seeing inseparably manifest in form of a syllable or a letter or something, an insignia, and that is the Samadhi Sattva. So when you meditate on the Samaya Sattva of the deity, which is symbolic form, filled with the wisdom being, which is the spirit, and then visualizing them both as in some form of a syllable or a droplet or a tail, and then you're meditating on the emptiness, non-duality of form and emptiness. Even people who do formal meditation on deity yoga in the Vajrayana tradition, the main deity yoga is the emptiness yoga. Deity is simply made emptiness visible. Of course, emptiness is not visible because emptiness doesn't have leg or eyes, ear, no. Yet you have meditated that the emptiness is self-manifesting as a deity who has eyes and ears and nose. So the deity who has eyes and nose, ears, and so on that we visualize is actually deity is the wisdom, is the friend who help you to develop the wisdom of the emptiness of the deity's form, in the form, So the form that is empty of the form that appears is the jnana sattva, and but the emptiness that is manifesting as the form is the samaya sattva. The non-duality of the form of the deity and emptiness is the samadhi sattva. So Buddhism without deities isn't Buddhism without deities. Buddhism is with the deities, meditating on such a form, but actually not seeing the deity as external entity out there who is there to give function as a supernatural being for the benefit of the individual. So the meditator and the deity who you're meditating are non-inseparable nature of your own clarity and empty aspect to your own mind. There is no such stagnant, static deity that is born tomorrow or yesterday or live this long and do this. There is no such. Deity is never born, never abides, never ceases. But the wisdom that we try to understand these, then looks back at everything in your life story, everything that has happened and is appear to happen in life here are also not truly existent. Not because they don't exist at all, because they don't last. Things exist like a rainbow, but where is the rainbow after the rainbow is manifested? There's no rainbow. So rainbow exists, proof of non-existence of rainbow. And the fact that there is rainbow is also proof that there are forms of rainbow, but the forms of rainbow are impermanent. And so in order for you to remember all appearances, all experiences, let alone self and the phenomena are not truly existing, therefore samaya sattva form of deity is used to bring that idea. When you give rise to the form of the deity, when you meditate, and then you know that form is merely imputed, merely labeled as a deity, as a friend. But beside that, there isn't any deity entity that exists from anything from its own side, is the emptiness. See the deity, that's what the deity, real deity is the impermanence of all things, emptiness of all things. But because people have no access and wisdom to penetrate this understanding, so they're given some physical, visible form of deity with a white color holding this, all that. But even the sword that is held in Manjushri is not the kind of sword. Real sword is the sharpness of your mind that sees the impermanence of impermanent things and the emptiness of self and phenomena. That's the real wisdom. That's the real sword. The sword held in the deity, symbolic deity, is not a sword at all. It's the wisdom. In order that you don't forget the wisdom discerning impermanence, emptiness, therefore deity with the sword of wisdom is taught, given as someone you meditate on. But when you say, why is Manjushri holding a sword? And then it is not so much Manjushri ever brandish a sword to slay anyone or hurt anybody, but is this awareness of knowing, alert, staying alert, everything is impermanent. Because if you don't, you will grasp to impermanent things are permanent, and then you get hurt, and then you get stabbed. So to prevent that self-serving, therefore one is holding the sword of awareness to remember impermanence. That's the purpose of this. That's the purpose of the deity Manjushri. But it's not the Manjushri who comes and does that, but you yourself have to develop the awareness. So when we say deity without Buddhism without deities, we're not talking of Buddhism without deity. We're talking of Buddhism with the deities, but not for the sake of worshipping to an external deity, but for the sake of realizing the emptiness of self. So therefore, in order to realize impermanence of self and emptiness of self and impermanence of suffering, in lack of and emptiness of suffering, therefore we are using deities to remind us to remember the teaching of the three principles of the path. That is the suffering, impermanence, and emptiness. In order for us to remember these three, the Buddha taught the higher trainings. self-discipline, meditation, and wisdom. Even the self-discipline, to pray to a deity so many times a day, you might even be giving a sadhana to do each deity. But the person doing the deity yoga, mantra meditation, or visualization is not for the sake of worshipping to an external God. And one might even have the image, description of the actual pantheon of the iconographic of the deities and structure of the sadhana. You have to go through that. But the purpose of all of that is not so that you practice Buddhism with the deities, but Buddhism without deities. But using the conventional form of deities to transcend the ordinary theistic expectation of external entity called deity or God, who will therefore give you boon, save you from dangers, and protect you from suffering, and give you some grace. This kind of a belief would be really lovely to believe. People even say if someone had a vision of the deity, they actually have a pure vision of the deity. That doesn't mean that external deity came to see them. It means they have come to realize the lack of inherent existence of self in themselves. And the deity's appearance is simply to reveal how long does the deity appear. As soon as he appears, he disappears. So therefore, do not get attached to the appearance of self, let alone its wrong views and dreams. Do not get attached to any of them. All of these things are impermanent. That's deity. The real deity is the wisdom. Real deity is emptiness. We can call it emptiness yoga, we can call it deity yoga, we can call it guru yoga, but they're all wisdom yoga. They're all for the sake of developing the three principles of the path: impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and emptiness. And then your real practice is deity is bodhicitta, altruistically motivating, developing compassion, loving kindness for sentient beings who do not get this. And then you constantly stay present in meditating on bodhicitta, as your real deity is bodhicitta. Don't forget bodhicitta. That's more important. If you don't forget bodhicitta, then you will think of the sentient beings. Then sentient beings, each and every sentient beings are Lord sentient beings. What's the point of appeasing and praying to so many deities when you can't even be kind to one finite sentient being? That's a Buddhist materialism of having so many deities and gods and make dharmas for, do prayer for, but actually forgetting the real purpose of the deity is not to have deities externally, but treat the sentient beings as the best friend. The sentient beings should be treated as a Lord sentient beings, out of compassion, out of forgiveness, out of bodhicitta. And then staying oneself always present. To remember this, we have the blessings of our guru, teacher, and his teachings, and that goes all the way to the historical Buddha. And then we feel ever grateful. All of those great succession of masters from the Buddha up till now, we become so grateful. But we might even call upon them, pray them, but we don't call upon them so that they come to you. When you call upon them, you call upon your own goodness in you. You have to help yourself. Nobody helps you. Buddha said, you are your own master, no one is. So therefore, the title of this topic, Buddhism without deity, is Buddhism cannot be practiced without the wisdom, the prajna, samadhi, the meditation, and self-discipline. But because people are so forgetful of these three trainings, so they need to be deified someone else. Maybe arhats, some people are believing arhats, others are bodhisattvas, others are deities. They always worshiping somebody, but they don't remember the purpose of worshiping to any arhats or buddhas or bodhisattvas is so that we actually practice these three higher trainings to get to do with sentient beings. So if you have self-discipline, Shila, you will harm less to sentient beings, but your harmlessness to sentient being is only possible when there are sentient beings. So sentient beings is actually more important than the deities. So definitely you can practice Buddhism without deities, but you cannot practice Buddhism with our sentient beings. So we are in a really good place, a very good place in this samsara. And if you have any shortage of sentient beings, I'm sure some of us will help you to introduce you to some sentient being in your life with whom you practice kindness, self-discipline, compassion, forgiveness. If you do that, you have the teaching. The teaching is your deity. You do not need external deities, grimacingly looking over you as if to frighten you. So Buddhism shouldn't be taught as to frighten people with the very, very, very fearsome looking deities. That's not the purpose. So some culture, Buddhist traditions, temples are like that, but that's why most people don't understand it. But we need to understand in this 21st century, what is the purpose of these deities' purpose? And it's so that we do not practice Buddhism attached to my deity, our lineage's deities, our lineage's yidam. What are you talking about? Real Buddha only taught the refuge in the triple gem. And even that is not refuge in external Buddha or external scriptures or external stupas. It is one's own clarity of mind is the Sangha. Emptiness of your mind and yourself is the Dharma. The non-duality of this is the real Buddha. So that is the purpose of any role, conventional role of deity yoga in Buddhism. So with that, we will finish here. Thank you very much, everyone joining me and the Tibetan Buddhist Society. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. If you wish to watch any other YouTube teachings, always go back to YouTube Sakya Losal Chodzong. You'll be able to watch many teachings there. So that's all. Thank you very much for today. See you next time.